This is the matchup everybody has been waiting for a long time. It's week 7 in Swac football, and we got the showdown between Alabama State, Jackson State, Andrew Body versus Mr. Morgan. The no better person to talk about it with me is then my man Wilton Jackson. What's going on, Wilt? How you doing, man?
What's going on, Kyle? You know, I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever told you this before, but the way that you do your introductions to the show, I absolutely love it. Like just the animation, like just the authenticity, like all that. I just absolutely love it. But man, I am doing good. I'm glad you invited me onto the show. We got a lot to talk about. Some really big games that's going to take place this weekend. And I mean, man, like I feel like football season just started, but like we're looking at like the first full weekend in October this week for college football, specifically amongst the HBCU ranks. So, I mean, it's a great time to be alive, man.
Great time to be alive. Great time to see what's happening in HBCU football. And I was trying to pull up the clip. I was trying to find it. I couldn't find it. But remember, you and we kicked off the season talking about what's going to happen in week 6. After week 6, we'll know who's who in the West, and we'll know who's who in the East. And it's shaking out that way. So, guys, before we get into it, go ahead and follow HBCU Legends on social media as well as on our YouTube channel. If you're watching our YouTube channel, go ahead and mash up the likes. Please keep on supporting us at HBCU Legends. And you can find me at KTMOZE on all social media platforms. And you can find Wilton at Wilton Reports on social media as well. All right, let's roll. Well, let's talk about the showdown that's happening this weekend. The Swac East is really taking it to everybody, and we got the big showdown between Jackson State as well as Alabama State. We're just going to give them a little tease right now. Then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts a little bit later in the show. But at this time, you're in Jackson, man. Talk about the homecoming atmosphere in the air.
You know, Kyle, anytime you talk about homecoming at Jackson State, man, I mean, you think about big crowds, you think about tailgating. And, you know, granted, over the last 4 to 5, 6 years, like you talk about a good Jackson State football team and what they've been able to do on the field and just within the Swac. And, man, the buzz around the city of Jackson is hot right now. Like everybody's expecting a strong team to take the field. Jackson State, again, you know, favorite to come out of the Swac East, you know, coming off a Celebration Bowl last year, Swac Championship last year. And Jackson State fans are expecting to win this game on Saturday. Granted, it's Alabama State. We all know the history between Jackson State and Alabama State, whether it was Jackson State playing Alabama State for homecoming last couple of years, how this game has been. It's a really good time for these two teams to play. And, you know, I was in the press conference with Coach Taylor on Monday, and he really just kind of alluded to the fact that, like, there's not much he really had to really tell his players about the magnitude of this game. Of course, they know it's homecoming and, you know, things of that nature, but they know what sits in front of them. Like, this is a game that could potentially decide who wins the Swac East, at least for right now, because obviously there are some other games played, but this is arguably the biggest game of the season, specifically in the Swac right now.
Yeah, definitely, man. Think about it. Jackson State, FAMU, we always had those Orange Blossom Classics at the beginning of the year, and that kind of settled everything else for the rest of the season, right? Yep. But when it came to in season, I think Alabama State one year challenged FAMU, but FAMU pulled away. Remember that game? I think it was 3 seasons ago, right? Mm-hmm. It was right after Prime left, whatever. But when it comes to this game, TC Taylor versus Eddie Robinson Jr. And Eddie Robinson Jr., let's be honest, man. That proverbial monkey has to come off that back, man. Yeah. And not saying that Coach Robinson is not an excellent coach. He's one of the best coaches in college football for HBCUs. Yeah. But no, he is. Just like Steve Young had to get that monkey off his back against Dallas and in the Super Bowl, just like other guys, you know, it just seemed like he just was jinxed some sort of way. This way, with Andrew Body, seems like he can be able to do it, but they have to get over Jackson State, the Giant.
No, you're absolutely right, Cal. And that saying that to be the best, you got to beat the best, and to be the champs, you got to beat the champs in Jackson State. But this is a Alabama State team that is extremely dangerous, and it's different because in previous years we've talked about Alabama State and their shutout defense and what they've been able to do, specifically over the last 3 years. And being able to limit opponents, roughly anywhere between like 14 to 17 points a game. And it's crazy because this year their offense is outperforming the defense. And that's crazy to think for an Eddie Robinson-led football team, right?
Yeah.
But this is what we expected from Alabama State last year, granted, if Andrew Body is not hurt. And we're really getting to see a full display of this young man's arsenal of what he can do as far as sitting in the pocket, making passes, getting outside the pocket, using his legs to make plays. That was on full display in game one when they played Arkansas, UAB, Arkansas Birmingham. Right. So really between that and just what they've been able to do in combining the running game, the Hornets running game with Andrew Body, they've been dangerous. But this is going to be a true litmus test for both teams, specifically Jackson State and Alabama State, to see okay, really which defense is going to be able to stop the opposing offense and make the critical plays to win this game. Because I feel like both teams' offenses are going to perform well. They may not necessarily perform to the same level of standard that they've been performing each week leading up to this game. But I definitely think that whoever wins this game is definitely going to come from the fact of the defense was able to make critical plays and critical stops needed to get the victory.
Critical plays, critical stops, turnovers will be a factor. Special teams will be a factor as well. Guys, I think this is one of the games that is David versus Goliath. Mm-hmm. It's the champs versus the wannabes, right? But it's also, could it be Andrew Body's coming out party? Really coming out party, right?
Yep.
Where he establishes himself as the king of the new king of the Swac. Or is it Jacobian Morgan saying, hold on, man, y'all forgot about me? Right? Yep. Because think about it. Jacobian Morgan has been that man. Whether you want to admit it or not, he is that man for the Jackson State Tigers at this time. So Saturday, October 11th, you got to be either in the stadium at the vet like Wilton's going to be, or you're going to have to watch it. If you can't watch it, the only disappointing thing, in my opinion, Will, I know it's homecoming, but they should have had this at night. They should have had this a little bit later in the
as
day.
A person that's above my pay grade, I am very much a night game type of person. I love the 6 o'clock or a 4 or 6 o'clock kickoff. I don't hate the 2 o'clock kickoff, but in Mississippi in early October, it is extremely hot. It's like 90 degrees, close to it at least anyway. But again, beyond the weather, this is going to be a phenomenal game. I just hope that it lives up to the hype, because right now I can tell you from everyone I spoke to, just from being around, the players and things of that nature, as far as going around Jackson State, they are super excited for this game. And you can just tell from some of my Alabama State friends, of course, the mutual trash talk, Alabama State's going to win, Jackson State's going to win. Everybody is expecting a good game, and really this particular game living up to the hype of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I got to go back to Monday's press conference with Coach Taylor. Mm-hmm. When he, toward the end of his statements, let me see if I can pull this up, guys. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought really exemplified how important this game is for HBCUs, right?
Right.
He said, you talk about a game like this on ESPNU this weekend. So it's going to be a lot of eyes watching this. The top 2 teams in some polls in HBCU, 2 well-coached programs. So it's important, the opportunity to go out and show that we're playing good ball, not only in HBCU, but for FCS game 2. Think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's absolutely right. A lot of people are going to have their eyes on this game because let's say one of these guys lose but continue winning. That puts them in a position to be an FCS playoff team, possibly, right?
Yep.
And that's what usually happens. So, what are your thoughts there, Will?
I think that, of course, we all like the fact that, we want the HBCUs to get more exposure and the young men they're going to be playing this game and playing for both teams. You want them to have that exposure because, again, most of them, they come to college, of course, to get an education, but some of them obviously want to take their talents to the next level. And I think that, being able to have this exposure and playing on ESPNU, it gives them the opportunity to not only get eyeballs amongst the Swac and the fans at large, but also getting the eyeballs from college football fans within FCS that don't necessarily know about a Jackson State or an Alabama State or who Andrew Body is and some of the key impact players on both teams that could potentially be playing on Sundays. I mean, they may not necessarily always get drafted in the NFL draft or in the rounds, but like you could still find some of these players, these hidden gems that actually may end up on NFL teams on Sunday in a matter of months in the year 2026. So this is one of those things where you take advantage of the opportunity. And how many times do coaches say like you only get so many opportunities in life to achieve your goals, your dreams.
Yeah.
You have to take advantage of the ones that you get, even the ones when you're in college, your own scholarship, you have, you may have in this particular case amongst the HBCU ranks, limited NIL deals and things of that nature, but having that exposure to expand it and show the brand of what your school represents and an opportunity for you to showcase your skills and talents to people at large. I just think that, it bodes well for those players. It bodes well for programs. And I think that, it just only looks and makes things better for those players that have bigger dreams outside of college football.
Yeah, definitely. And let's say some of those players have a couple more years of eligibility. It could be eyeballs open where an FCS program or FBS program decides to extend an offer. Yeah. And right now, big money is fairly being showed over the tables, right? So right. This is a situation where I have to agree with Coach Taylor. This can be able to open a lot of eyes, especially if the football is played well, because Alabama State, they received votes in the past, the Africa poll, as well as another FCS poll, but they haven't been able to get into that spot. Jackson State is at number 14, 15 in a couple of the polls, right? So right now, what happens if Alabama State is able to win that game?
Oh, if Alabama State wins on Saturday, I'm pretty certain that they'll probably get a nod in this poll just by virtue of beating the number 14 team in Jackson State. I don't necessarily know if it will be like as high as 14 coming into it, but I definitely think they would be a team that's definitely within the top 25. I would put them maybe as high as anywhere between like maybe 22 to 25. But I definitely think if they get a win against Jackson State, they definitely enter that poll.
All right, excellent. We're going to come back and talk about the game toward the end. Guys, go out to WBH CMOS. That's Whole Body Health CMOS. That's one of our title sponsors here at HBCU Legends. Rosalind and Homer Allen are the owners of that. Two guys, and Homer's a HBCUer. So go and help those guys out, as well as go to AL Pain Rehab. That's Dr. McCoomer and his guys in Madison, Alabama. They're one of our sponsors as well. He's a Morehouse grad, so he's a good man. That's my best friend. So go ahead and support him as well at AL Pain Rehab, especially if you're in the Madison area. He does an excellent job. He just opened up 2 more locations around that area, so they're doing well and they're helping in the community. All right, let's talk about some more goings on in the Swac. I was at this game. This game surprised me out of all the games this weekend. These guys, Texas Southern, 51-7 over Pine Bluff. I didn't see this one coming. Well, did you?
Not exactly like this, considering Arkansas Pine Bluff was coming off of a win. And, I can just remember us talking about on Dr. Cavill's show, we were talking about Christian Peters, his background and where he played before going into Arkansas Pine Bluff. And we were just saying last week, before this past weekend, if he had a similar game of what he was able to do from the previous week, they actually might have a chance to give Texas Southern a run for their money, like considering Texas Southern has kind of had its ups and downs to start the season, which was kind of uncharacteristic coming into this season, because I felt like, based off some of the things that I can remember talking to Chris Dishman about at Swack Media Day, I just kind of felt things would be a little bit different for Texas Southern. But here's the thing. You talk about BTA, it was straight BTA. Like from the very moment.
Put out that belt.
Yeah, no, it was. Like, that's exactly what it was. But I also think that Texas Southern needed a win like this to kind of give that extra boost and motivation, because this, when you look back, this could be a game in the season where, granted, it was Arkansas Pine Bluff, but getting a dominant win like this can kind of sometimes give you that motivation and that boost to say, okay, we know what exceptional football looks like on all three phases, right? And now we just need to find a way to duplicate what that looks like against our next opponent. And while it sounds easy, but here's the thing that separates, going from a good team to a great team each week is like, can you continue to build and maintain those habits that you had against in Arkansas Pine Bluff if you're Texas Southern? Can you follow that over into your practice habits throughout the week? Can you stay focused? Are you locked in drills and things like that, and listening to the assistants and Coach Dishman and what he's, trying to get his players to buy into? So here's the thing. Swack West is wacky. We say that every year.
The wacky Swack West.
It is, and it's not going to be any different this year. Like, you look at it right now, Southern is at the bottom of the Swack West. Grambling is somewhere near the bottom of the Swack West. So it's just like, things, the way it looks now, I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna pick Southern or Grambling to move to the top automatically and win the Swack West. The point I'm trying to make is it's still open, and any team can really seize control of this division and still be looking in December and thinking like, well, it's the first week in December and it's the Swack Championship, but we made it despite being 1-3 or 1-4 in the first week in October.
Yeah. Well, I said it 7 weeks ago, and I stand pat. Whoever at this juncture, the 1 or 2 guys have the best chance of winning the Swack West, bam, here you go.
Yep.
Prairie View, Texas Southern. Now, there was a guy who used to coach at Prairie View who paid a visit to Texas Southern 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden Texas Southern is playing like they're winning games. Coach Bubba McDowell.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to be on tonight. He's going to be on with us Thursday. Look, I still believe Coach McDowell should have been on the staff one way, shape, or form this past year, even as an assistant coach. Yeah, forget he needed to be somewhere around that program, and he's always, that's his boy, Chris Dishman. Yeah. And Bubba McDowell needs to be in football.
Yeah,
some way. And I think whatever he did, whatever he looked at, whatever he observed to help that program out is paying dividends. Texas Southern last week had the 3 top tacklers in the Swac. That's unheard of in one linebacking core. They're like the Dome Patrol from the Saints. That's how they're performing with Bogatry, Williams, and Charles, right?
Yep.
God, people don't know those names.
Well,
Bogatry.
If you've been watching Swack football, yeah, no, if you've been watching Swack football and really more importantly paying attention to Texas Southern, their key players, you know those names. I mean, and you just listed them. And when I say like it was a complete, total dominant performance on defense from Texas Southern. I mean, they absolutely like suffocated the Lions offense, limiting them in yards, forcing them mistakes. I mean, and just really owning the field position game. I mean, it was again, if you're Texas Southern, this is a blueprint of what you want to potentially you want to continue to follow for the rest of your games throughout this season. Now, granted, it won't always look like a blowout, but the fundamentals, the discipline that you had in that game, this is what you want it to look like each week.
That defense, you see that guy right here, number 9, Michael Aikens. We call him the Big Nasty down here.
Yeah.
We've been calling him that for the past 3 seasons. Mm-hmm. That guy took over the Valley State game.
Yep.
He was a wrecking ball. They had no answer for him.
Nope.
That defense, if Chris Dishman and the Texas Southern Tigers eventually find a way to win and be able to play for that Swac championship, it's because of this defense.
Yep.
Now, I'm sorry. These guys, too, at the top, they got pretty good defense, too, man.
Yeah.
They got a pretty good defense. Both of these defenses are in the top 3 top 4 in the SWAC. Because I forgot Alabama State and Jackson State are up there as well. But Prairie View and Texas Southern, those guys are killing it, guys. Matter of fact, in defense, total defense, right now, Jackson State's number 1, Prairie View is number 2, Grambling, surprisingly, is number 3, Florida A&M is 4, Texas Southern is number 5, and Alabama State is number 6 at this time. Well, just based upon those rankings there, what do you think?
You know, Cal, right now, coming into the first full week of October, and when looking at the SWAC West right now, if there was a team that had the best chance or the most complete chance to represent the West, it would arguably be Prairie View. Yeah. The only thing about Prairie View is that, like, the question marks surrounding their offense. I mean, it's just like, you can see glimpses of things working and that it can work, but I'm just not sold yet, Cal. And I think that, granted, defense wins championships. We know that. That's been said long enough. But at the same time, there has to be at some point some form of consistency on offense for you to be able to complete this championship. And if if you're Coach Jackson, obviously you're still figuring some things out. Yeah. In terms of the quarterback situation there and what your offense is going to look like. But if they want to continue to hold this lead in the SWAC West, because again things are going to get wacky going into the end of the season, they're going to have to find better continuity on offense, because again defense is going to win them games and keep them in games, but at the same time they're going to have to make some plays to win some games, and it's going to have to come on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, because we talked about in week 7 right now, Prairie View, they have a little breather, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you talked about Texas Southern playing at Grambling. Now, if they're able to play at Grambling and win that game, it's still nipping at the heels of Texas Southern. Prairie View, but Prairie View still owns the tiebreaker, right? From the Labor Day Classic.
Yep.
And then Prairie View has to go into the Bluff and play Southern next week.
That's a game that I got circled on my calendar because, again, playing at Southern A.W. Mumford Stadium is not an easy place to play. And this is a Southern team, again, kind of like some other teams in the SWAC West. They've had their quarterback issues as well. Yeah. Is it going to be Cameron McCoy? Is it going to be Strother? And of course, exactly. Or Woods, he was dealing with the concussion and, the issues of that nature. So we know they can run the ball. We know Southern can run the ball exceptionally well. But it's like, okay, with a Prairie View team coming in, if Southern is able to sneak in a win against Prairie View, that changes the whole dynamic. Everything becomes wide open again. It's not really closed now, but right now you can distinctly see Prairie View, Texas Southern. Southern wins that game against Prairie View, it changes the whole dynamic.
It changes everything, man. But I'm still not sold on the Jags.
No, I'm not.
And this year, it just seems as though last year they had those. They're kind of like the Chiefs are. They had those one-score wins, those cardiac wins long enough. Now it's catching up to you.
Yep.
Right? You're not going to be able to do that this year. You're not going to have those squeakiers and those miracles to happen like I saw in the end zone at Texas Southern. There's no way that's going to happen again. But it happened to Texas Southern against Mississippi Valley. There's no way Terrell Buckley should have called that fake punt.
Yeah, I Charles Bishop was on that call, and I remember texting him and saying, "What just happened, Charles? What's going on? This is not." I expected
that was a rookie head coach mistake.
Absolutely. Because I just knew Mississippi Valley had won that game.
Yeah, and just like last year, it was a rookie head coach mistake with Chris Dishman punting out of his end zone. This ain't gonna happen again.
Yeah, no.
Right. But can Texas Southern go and defeat Grambling? That's going to be a tough one. I think these guys are evenly matched, and I think Mickey Joseph needs to win. He needs to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But another program that really needs to win, and I think they're going to get the win against Lincoln, is Alcorn on this one. Right. They really, and I don't know, this is a program I don't recognize since Fred McNair's departure. And it's not a knock against Cedric Thomas because you could tell those guys are hustling. You can tell they're playing hard. The way they pushed PV this past weekend was pretty impressive, but something's missing. What do you think is missing there?
I think it's more so the fact of, I mean, it's really not a secret, more so on the offensive side of the ball, because, I mean, we know Alcorn, as far as like defensively, they have some guys that can play. Right. It's never really been a huge issue on defense for Alcorn. It's really more so on offense, and the play of Jalen Tolbert, and of course their running back in Jacorian Sewell. They have the playmakers to do things, but again, like a lot of that always starts back with your offensive line. And again, look who they were playing. They were playing one of the top two defenses in the Swac against Prairie View, and it comes down to matchups. It comes down to who can make plays when the game is on the line. And they just didn't make enough plays. I mean, I think, to be honest, with the game being close as it was, it kind of shocked me a little bit because I actually thought that Prairie View was going to maybe win by a touchdown or maybe 7 to 10 points. Definitely not a blowout, of course, but I definitely thought it would have been a little separation in there versus it being like a 1-point win for Prairie View. That's not what I expected coming into that game.
The problem with Prairie View is penalties. Penalties. Now they have 50 for the year. Mm-hmm. Third worst in the conference. 50 for the years. Get this, a staggering 487 yards of penalty yardage. The average per game, 81.2 yards per game. You almost giving up a whole field, almost a touchdown you're giving away just in penalties. You cannot win championships at that level, man. And I'm amazed that Prairie View is at the top. If they do not fix the penalties, they're going to have a problem.
Yeah, no, they are.
But guess who else is worse? Who's the worst in the league? Guess.
Grambling.
Right close to you. No, Grambling's number one. They're the best.
Jackson State.
Yeah.
No, that's something TC was harping on the first 4 weeks of the season, and they definitely had a much more of an influx in penalties coming into the season, and that was very much uncharacteristic of a TC Taylor-led Jackson State football team. But again, the last couple of weeks they've kind of limited those penalties and played better, of course. And I think a lot of it was due to the fact that some of the things that they wanted to see, specifically more so on the offensive side of the ball, they had issues there. They also had some really, I don't want to necessarily use dumb penalties, but like things that they don't typically do on defense that you saw them doing that just kind of added to the penalty yardage that it just was very much uncharacteristic amongst the Jackson State football team in the last 2 to 3 years. So I think as you kind of see them over the last couple of weeks, they've been able to nip that in the bud. And you're starting to see a much more uniform, more disciplined Jackson State football team. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on, because if that was to happen again in some of these latter games that they have to play, even on looking into Saturday's game, that wouldn't bode well for Jackson State.
Wouldn't bode well one way, shape, or form. All right, guys. And NCCU against FAMU. I think the Eagles, they've been doing some traveling lately. They went to East Texas, first time in years, going past the Mississippi River, and they took care of business there. But the Eagles now have to play challenge FAMU team that seem like they're losing their confidence some way, shape, or form. I think Gerald Thomas talked about that in his Democrat piece this past was it yesterday? Yeah, past Monday. What's going on with these guys? Are they losing confidence? Is Coach Cozy losing confidence, or are they losing confidence in him and his staff? What do you think?
Cal, when you have one loss or when you have a loss period, it's one of those things where, you're looking like, okay, we can bounce back. You have multiple losses, 2 losses, especially within the first, 5 weeks of the season. It's like, okay, now the alarm is being sounded. You get another loss, or even if it was like a close game, but you didn't play well, you start to question like, okay, what's going on? Is it us as the players? Are we not holding up to our standards of the contract that we basically signed to say that, hey, we're players on this team. We're doing our parts to make sure that we're doing enough to win a game. And then as a coaching staff, you have to ask yourself, like, are we putting the players in the best position to win? And in some of these latter games, I think the one game that I really watched from start to finish with FAMU was that Alabama State game. And I think once Alabama State really started to put the points on, you could kind of see glimpses of the players losing confidence in a way.
Yeah, they weren't hustling as much.
They were not. It was just like Alabama State was playing pitch and catch, and it was easy. And that's not what you see typically from a FAMU team. And more so than anything from a coach that, if you know anything about Coach Cozy, like that's not indicative of who he is as from his time as an assistant and just within his time as a head coach. So I think that you are seeing a little bit of players losing that confidence, and it sometimes, Cal, when you have so many losses and you expect to play at a certain level, it can mess with your psyche. Like it can put you in a space where we almost kind of forgot what it feels like to win. Yeah, I mean, because here's another thing too. That FAMU game against Albany State, they won, but that was much closer than what it was supposed to be.
So, because I hate to see good coaches take the fall.
Yep.
I mean, the complete fall, guys. That's what I'm talking about. Because you got in the Swac, everybody wants to fire a coach. Mm-hmm. Oh, they winning, fire. Get rid of them. You saw what they did to Coach Dooley. Mm-hmm. Ran him out. Man, just took you guys to a Swac championship. Run them out. I don't get it. I don't get it, man. And it takes time to really build sustainable programs in college football. When you go from different coaching staff to new coaching staff, a lot of times you have issues. You look at what Coach Whitty is doing over at Bethune-Cookman. That's a competitive game. Football team, really competitive football team. You can see they're on the brink. They're on the brink of something, So we'll see how all of this translates out on the field. But you got some coaches already on the hot seat. All right. Well, let's talk about your top 10, man. We're going to go through your top 10. See, you give us what's happening. You want to start with D1 or D2?
We can start with D1.
All right. D1, you got, of course, Jackson State, Alabama State. Go ahead. Talk about your top 10.
So with Jackson State, obviously, number one, until you beat the champ, the champs are going to remain the champs. And they've shown why they're still the number one team amongst HBCU football on offense, defense, special teams. I mean, just dominant performances. I know they had some rough patches to start off the season. They really a rough stretch even when they first played Hampton, but of course second half kind of changed that dynamic. And then of course the Southern Miss game, the score, showed that Southern Miss won the game, but that game was at one point closer than what the score actually showed. But I think also, seeing them get that win against Southern and seeing a dominant performance against Alabama A&M, which some people kind of thought that was like the first true litmus test for them. And they succeeded. They succeeded with flying colors. And granted, I say that from a space of, with Sam Shade being at Alabama A&M, and I consider Alabama A&M as one of my dark horses coming out of the Swac East. Jackson State took that game and controlled it literally from start to finish. So they deserve to be number one. Alabama State, no brainer here. And we'll actually get a chance to decide who's going to be number one after this weekend, against this, in this matchup between these two teams. Andrew Body's playing phenomenally. You're talking about a Hornets rushing attack that's coming along that's been able to kind of coincide and coexist with Body, which has helped help Andrew Body in a way, not necessarily put so much pressure on him to throw for 400 yards a game.
Right.
The defense is still dominant, not as dominant as it's been in, say, previous years, but still dominant enough to know that you're not just going to walk all over them. Yeah. North Carolina Central, still a team that of course, even though South Carolina State is the champ from last year, Central is definitely one of those teams that's kind of still flying under the radar. But I can tell you somebody who's not flying under the radar. That's Christian Mosley. If I'm a linebacker, I am not looking forward to tackling this guy. This dude is a absolute freak.
A terrific name. Come on, man. You know the bloodline is there. Remind me of my days.
Are you related to him, or is there?
Of course, all Mosleys are related there, man. Of course we are.
No, for sure, man. So I like what Central is doing. You gotta love Trey Oliver and what he's able to do consistently year in and year out and putting this team together. Walker Harris is coming along as well and getting more comfortable in leading this offense. He's
doing a better job this past couple of games, because I always say you don't know which Walker Harris you're getting.
Absolutely. You're seeing more of in previous, last year we saw a Walker Harris who was a game manager. Now we're seeing more of a Walker Harris who can really truly facilitate and take command of this offense.
Yeah. If they walk over FAMU this weekend, man, I think the confidence for the Eagles is going to be at all-time high going into their conference play.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, so after preview, then you get into South Carolina State. This is another team that has kind of flown under the radar. And I say, South Carolina State, North Carolina Central flying on the radar because everybody coming into the season was so high on what is Deshaun Jackson doing at Delaware State, which I'm going to get to in a second, and what is Michael Vick going to do with Norfolk State in his first season, which I'll touch on even though they're not in the top 10. Ryan Stubblefield still getting the job done. The only thing I'll say about South Carolina State is their defense has been a little shaky. I didn't expect them to lose to Charleston Southern, a team that was winless before they played them. And they put up a lot of points on South Carolina State, and that's not something you typically see against a Tennis Bear squad.
And the offense has some issues too.
Absolutely.
Let's because what concerns me about them is the offense.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. It's not as smooth and consistent like you would like to see a Chinnisberry team. And I don't know if it's just because Stubblefield's getting used to being the man, right? Yeah. But that they're concerning me.
Yeah, no, and I think some of it is that he's kind of been in the shadows and now he's the man leading the offense. And so I think that the biggest thing that can help him is making sure that South Carolina State continues to maintain some consistency in a running game, because I think that gives him an air of confidence to be able to know that he can put the ball in the air to his weapons down the field. So that's South Carolina State. Then, of course, with Delaware State, man, this weekend alone, them going toe-to-toe with Monmouth, a team that was, ranked in the FCS top 25. They hung in there with Monmouth, literally play for play, but they couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is what it is. They could not stop anything. And they have the talent. Caden Bennett at quarterback, Marquise Gillis, phenomenal
running back. Yeah.
Offensive line doing their part. I mean, Monmouth had no answer in stopping their running game or just their offense, period. So on one side, you look at that and say, if you're Deshaun Jackson, your offense is starting to click. And I mean click very, very well. However, I granted I know it was Monmouth and they're, a prolific offense. And we knew that coming into this game. You got to be able to stop somebody to win games, especially the bigger games that matter as you get into MEAC play.
Yeah. Well, you got to give them credit because Monmouth is ranked in the FCS.
Yep.
And they really put it to them. Like they should have won that Sacred Heart game. Of course, we know what happened with the questionable referee.
All I do is
officiating.
I did this on another show. I said, I'm gonna give you a high five, and I'm gonna get a ball to the other referee, not the one who asked me for it, but the other one. I hope I'll pick up a flag in the process.
Yeah. All right. Quickly, let's go through the last four. Howard.
Yeah. Go ahead. This is a Howard team. I can remember talking to Coach at MEAC Media Day, and he said this was going to be a year that they kind of had a major reset in what they were wanting to do, and I think that you're seeing a little bit of that with this Howard team. And again, that's a Coach Scott led team that I won't necessarily. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that they're going to win the MEAC, but I do think it makes things interesting when MEAC play starts.
They can give somebody some trouble, and they could be spoilers.
Absolutely, and I definitely think that they're going to probably at least give one team. They're going to spoil somebody's chances in the MEAC.
I think Delaware State could be a spoiler too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, of course, you have Texas Southern. You know more probably about Texas Southern than I do holistically. But I really want to see Chris Dishman really elevate and take this team to where it can go. Last year was quarterback issues and consistency on offense. Now you're looking at from a standpoint of like defense is strong, which is expected. Can they continue to build on this continuity? Can they take this win from Arkansas Pine that they got against Arkansas Pine Bluff and build on that?
Renfro, the running back. Guys know that name, Athion Renfro.
Yep.
You got to know KJ Cooper at quarterback. You got to know Mr. Terry at wide receiver. You got to know Mr. Robinson at wide receiver as well. These guys aren't household names, but they're bringing it. Yep. And I think that Texas Southern offense, if O.C. Smith can continue to call plays like he's been calling plays as of late, because I'll be honest, that Mississippi Valley State game, it was shaky.
Yeah. For
3 7/5 of a quarter, right?
Yeah.
It was shaky. It was shaky. And until that bomb Cooper laid out for Terry, man, it was shaky, man. I just got to be honest. They have a tremendous special teams. That special teams, they're eventually going to break one. Yeah. They came close a lot this year. So if I was Chris Dishman, I would love my defense. I would be loving on all of them. But right now, can the continuity of that offense continue? That's going to be the key. Then you got Bethune-Cookman and Pine Bluff rounding up your top 10, right?
Yep.
I think Bethune-Cookman, man, if they can rattle off a couple of wins, they're going to be spoiling somebody's coming out as well. So, but the way Alabama State took it to them, I was like, whoa.
Oh, Alabama State had to make a statement, and they absolutely did that. Yeah. But for those who don't know, Cameron Ransom, Bethune-Cookman, can absolutely sling that ball around the field.
I'm telling you, next season, it's going to be interesting. All right. This is a team that people were saying, oh, without Chennis Bears, no way the Tigers is going to be a winner. Last year, they had a down year, of course, because it's a transition year, right? But now, Benedict, undefeated? Really? Edward Waters.
Yes.
Hold on. Where's Vi Union? Where's Virginia State? What's going on? What is going on with the world in D2 football, Wilton?
Man,
talk to me.
When I tell you that it is somewhat upside down, because coming into the season, I did not expect Benedict to be the team to be number one. But when I tell you they are playing lights out football, and I think more than anything, when I saw them get that win against Clark Atlanta, I said, "Oh, it wasn't just a win; it was a dominant win at Clark Atlanta at that." So I said to myself,
on that red field,
So I said that was my true test for them to see where they were and how for real they were. So I definitely give Benedict. They've got a check mark for me. Edward Waters is definitely strong, considering the only thing about Edward Waters, my God, that close win that they had, I was just like, okay, I know they beat Virginia Union, the winners of last year's CIAA championship, but when I tell you Edward Waters looks good, they look good. They look real good. Virginia Union, Coach Alvin Parker, we know what to expect from them. They look strong as well for another year. I think when we get to Johnson C. Smith, we're starting to see a team that's really starting to fully buy into what Coach Flowers is asking of his players.
What happened? They at the beginning of the season, game busters. Did it kind of whoop? What happened? They slipped.
You talking about this season or last season?
This season.
I think more so the fact that you let one win you let one win get to you, and it's just like, okay, if you're not playing and keeping that same momentum, that same boost of energy, anything can happen in football, right? And I think that with Johnson C. Smith, as long as they continue to play to the level and play to the pedigree that Coach Flowers is expecting from them, I think they're going to be okay. Now, one of the more exciting teams in D2 is definitely Albany State, and that's not an exaggeration.
No. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like if you like high-powered offense, strong quarterback play, you need to watch Albany State for sure. Fayetteville State is a team that people have been sleep on. And again, I say that because just finished Dr. Cavill's show in his top 7, and Fayetteville State wasn't even in the top 7. And I said to myself, no, I can't mention the top 7 without having Fayetteville State this week in terms of putting them in the top team. So they are definitely a team that's one of the better teams in D2. They're going to have some tough competition in the weeks ahead, specifically starting this weekend. And I think Kentucky State has been a pleasant surprise. I don't think anybody had Kentucky State coming in being as strong.
They're playing strong.
They are
strong.
Now, their competition in some of the teams they play haven't necessarily been the best, but the fact that they've been able to accumulate these wins and start in a place that probably most of us thought they wouldn't necessarily start, it bodes well for them. With Henry Frazier and Virginia State, not the best start to the season,
right?
But you can never count out Virginia State, ever. At least I won't. I mean, shout out to Coach Henry Frazier. Strong, obviously strong coach. We know his pedigree. I don't expect Virginia State to stay down. Then, of course, you round out with Livingstone and Winston-Salem State. And I'm going to just be honest. I know Steve is probably somewhere he's going to watch this show. I want to see Winston-Salem State to continue to climb. And you talk about the player, somebody like Dalen Lee. Oh, my God. Phenomenal athlete for Winston-Salem. So I'm excited to see where they could potentially go.
All right. Now, let's get down to the tail of the tapes. We're going to talk about our final thoughts on what's going to happen this weekend in the Swac East Showdown between Jackson State and Alabama State. What did Coach say?
Hey, we got to play a good football game next week. Coach Eddie Robb, that's my guy there, but they're going to come ready to play. The last time we hosted them for homecoming, they clipped me. They beat us last time. So I remember AD Robb brought it up about, this homecoming schedule. And I'm like, let's bring them back. It's going to be a lot of people in town. We're looking forward to it, but we playing good football now, and we accept the challenge.
I love it. He didn't run. He said, bring him back.
Yeah,
that's a good coach. That's a confident coach.
TC said he swag all day, every day.
You don't have to doubt what TC is swag. He's swag, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And look, Will, I tell you, man, my heart says Alabama State because I'm a Body fan.
Yeah,
but my mind and reality says it's difficult to go into the vet, especially soon as the sonic boom of the South starts playing JSU Rock You. It's nothing like it, man. Yeah. But if anybody can do it, it's Alabama State, right?
Yep.
So Jacobian Morgan, what does he have to do to win this game for the Tigers?
I think, Kyle, as long as he plays within his game and follows the blueprint of what has helped Jackson State win games from previous seasons and even this season, I think Jackson State is going to be fine. I think as long as he doesn't do too much or try to, essentially make a play out of every single play, because if it's not a play there, obviously be smart with the ball. So basically what I'm meaning is not turning the ball over, not forcing passes when things aren't there. Also relying on the running game to help him. And again, Jackson State, we've been saying this for the last 3 years. They have a bevy of running backs that can get the job done. And I'm going to just say this. If Jackson State can start early in terms of running the ball, that bodes very, very well for Jacoby Morton to put the ball in the air. And I think that you got a chance to really see him do that, because prior to the Southern game, you hadn't got a chance to really see him do that. And that was something that, Coach Taylor and the staff were really wanting Jacobian to do, in terms of being able to put the ball in the air to his weapons, because they have them. Janalen Dupree, you have Shamar Savage, you have Nate Rimbert at wide receiver for Jackson State. They have all types of weapons that can get the job done for the Tigers. And I feel like as long as they don't kill themselves in penalties, they play smart, sound football, and they established a run early in this game, Jacobian Morgan is going to be able to do just enough of what he needs to do within his game to lead Jackson State to a victory.
Wow. That's pretty impressive there, man. Think about what you talked about. We're talking about Jackson State, number 1 in rushing. These guys are averaging 269 yards per game. Yep. Well, Alabama State's number 2, 238 yards per game. And Andrew Body, all-purpose, is the top guy in the league. Get this. I did not know that he was the top rusher in the league as well.
Yep.
Andrew Body has 520 yards rushing on 59 attempts, and he's averaging 104 yards per game. Outstanding. And then you have this man, this bruiser named Ahmad Miller, man. He's just, I don't want to tackle. Look, those Miller boys, what was their mama feeding them, man? You know, Aubrey, and then you get Ahmad, man. Those boys are strong. They're not just strong, they're strong.
Yeah. No, like the way that Ahmad runs the ball, he runs with so much force. And I can remember talking to Coach Taylor in the beginning of the season as he talked to me about the development of Ahmad Miller. Of course, his freshman season, he saw, limited time in playing. He was limited to 3 games last year because he had an injury. But when I tell you, Coach was really, really high on Ahmad Miller coming into this season for what he could do, what he saw him do throughout the spring, and really just in fall camp. And I think that you're seeing the benefits of what he was doing in terms of preparation, coming back from a short season last year, and he's taking it to anybody that's on the opposite side of the field. If he gets the ball and you're in his way, he's gonna run over you. It's the exact opposite of Aubrey, because Aubrey's ready to hit you hard. Yeah. Ahmad is like, I'm about to run you over.
Yeah, it's some business decisions that are going to be made, man.
Yeah.
Andrew Body, number 1 in passing with 1,380 yards, and right behind him, number 3, Jacobian Morgan with 1,060. He's ready to do it too, man. These guys are averaging over 230 plus yards per game just in passing, and they have a tremendous rushing attack, and they have these guys called receivers who are doing some pretty good jobs as well. Jalen Jones, how dynamic has he been for the Hornets?
Oh, exceptional. This is the go-to guy for Andrew Body. Anytime that, a play needs to be made, an explosive play, do know that he's looking for Jalen Jones. And you're talking about an explosive wideout who can catch the ball. He can get separation from his defender. He's just been playing phenomenal ball for the Hornets. And, again, Jackson State secondary, this is the guy that you want to make sure when you start talking about X's and O's and making sure you're game planning, you want to know where Jalen Jones is at all times.
Yeah, definitely. And Jackson State, I thought, and you see the past couple of games, Mr. Rembert is emerging, right?
Yep.
Getting a little bit more comfortable and ingrained in the system for the offense at Jackson State. But Mr. Gardner Jr., he's been tremendous for those guys. He already has really been one of the go-to people for Mr. Morgan. So talk about him.
So if I told you that Jamil Gardner, this is something that someone told me, and I couldn't believe it initially, that if I told you that Jamil Gardner was probably the fastest wide receiver on the team.
Really?
Jackson State. Yes. That's what I've been told in terms of like his speed, his level of speed, and seeing that I've seen him play in practice, but he has some wheels.
He got some wheels.
That's why I say, oh no, he has some wheels. And you got to think about some of the other players on that team, Travis Terrell, and he's fast. Yeah. So to think about that is just like Jamil Gardner has really stepped up in a way that Jackson State has truly needed him to. I wouldn't be surprised if he had some dynamic plays coming into this game or in this game on Saturday. As long as, again, going back to the basics, as long as Jacobian Morgan has somewhat of a clean pocket, he makes smart decisions with the ball, he's going to get the ball to his weapons. And when he does, they have the capability and the capacity to make some really, really explosive plays that could help Jackson State win this game.
All right. there's a guy on that defensive line that has just been a wrecking ball as well.
Wreaking havoc.
Mr. Ivory, Quincy Ivory, man. I mean, this is a dominant player. Can anybody protect Andrew Body from him?
Well, coming into this game, I can't really say if I know they can protect him, but I bet I know this. They better eat their Wheaties before Saturday's game, because I mean he's gonna come with it. Like, and the thing is, he's a guy. We got a chance to kind of talk to him ahead of the season, and even in this week's press conference, he doesn't really talk much. He's not a very
quiet guy, huh?
He is, but his game is not. When he gets past that defender, whether it's an inside move, an outside move to get to the quarterback, you better it's lights out, because he's 9 times out of 10 probably gonna get you. So and he's not the only one. He's just the main one that I think that most people have really put their eye on because of his impact. And it's not so much just because of the fact that he's gotten the sacks. It's more so the type of pressure that he brings on the opposing lineman to get to the quarterback or stopping the run. So that's definitely, again, if you're Alabama State, you want to know exactly where he is so that you're not seeing Andrew Body on his backside.
Okay, don't hurt Body. Please.
No, not at all.
Ivory has 4 sacks. He's right behind Gibbons for the Swac leaders right now. And we're talking about a offense. We already said they're number 1 and number 2 in the conference. Jackson State number 1, Alabama State number 2. Defensively, Jackson State is number 1. They're limiting their opponents to only, get this. This is staggering. 115.4 yards per game. Yep. Come on, man.
When I tell you, Coach Torenzo Quinn, we, amongst the media,
rushing. I'm talking about rushing yards.
Rushing yards. Yeah.
Totally, they're limiting their opponents to 310 yards per game.
Yeah.
So, but still rushing, that's going to be hard for Alabama State.
Yeah, no, because, I mean, Alabama State has a bevy of running backs themselves. Cool and Kendall, Jamari Holtzclaw. Those guys can basically get it at any point in time. And I think that if they're able to run the ball against Jackson State, which a lot of teams haven't been able to do this season, it really bodes well for Andrew Body. I mean, granted, Andrew Body is part of the Hornets rushing attack as well. But if you can get your 2 running backs in motion and getting them to, make plays through the trenches, going downfield, it just opens up the offense even more for Body to get the ball to Jalen Jones and other weapons that the Hornets have to offer.
Defensively, Jackson State is second in the conference, yielding 195.4 yards per pass. Passing game against their opponents. And guys, when you think about Andrew Body, he's going to have his receivers to eclipse probably 230, in my opinion, to at
least 200.
Even get close to winning this game, guys. And Alabama State, they yield 213, and that's around the average of Jacobian Morgan as a passer anyway, right? So these are close numbers.
Yeah.
What makes the difference is what?
Special teams.
No
miscues on special teams. How do you perform on third downs? Are you maintaining longer drives, keeping an opposing offense on the sideline? And on defense,
third down conversions. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I really do think outside of special teams and third downs, I really do think this game is going to come down to which defense can get a critical stop. Because I do think that although these offenses as prolific as they've been in these games up until this point, there are going to be some times where they don't score. And it's because the defense is going to, be able to prevent that. And I think the ultimate way of winning this game is which defense can get multiple stops in that manner.
Yeah. Right now, Jackson State is number 1 in the league with 124 first downs. Alabama State is second with 109 first downs. When it comes to the third down conversions, Alabama State is the more efficient team, executing 57.7%. Nipping at their heels is Jackson State with 50% conversions and fourth down conversions. This is interesting. I like this. Fourth down conversions, Jackson State is number 1 in the league.
Yep.
They are 3 for 3. Alabama State is 1 for 3. That's shock. But I think in that first game against UAPB, they tried a couple of 4th downs there, right? And
you're talking about for Alabama State against UAB.
UAB. I'm sorry.
Yep.
UAB. Yep. And they were turned down. Yielding 3rd down conversions, Jackson State doesn't do it. They only give up 29% 3rd down conversions as a defense. That's it. That's remarkable, man. So, we're going to throw everything out. Jackson State's the winner, right?
I would like to think that they are. I think it's going to be a close game. But I do think with it being homecoming, it's extra imperative for Jackson State to ensure, specifically those players, to make sure they stay focused on the main thing. And I know Coach Taylor has already told them that. But if you know what your goal is, when the goal is right now, it's steps. And Coach Taylor talks about this all the time. You got to win the Swac East first, right? Just win. If you win the Swac East, that means you punch a ticket into winning. Punching a ticket to playing in the Swac Championship.
Right.
If you get to the Swac Championship, you want to win the Swac Championship to punch a ticket to the Celebration Bowl. So your process has already started, but the first major test of your process for Jackson State is on Saturday. And you got to win that first test before you can get to the next part of the process.
Right. And likewise for Alabama State.
Absolutely.
Making that drive all the way to Alabama, from Alabama State to Jackson, is only a 4-hour drive.
Yep.
Hit 80 to I-20, you there, guys. And, you there, right there to be rock and roll. And I think there's going to be some hornets swarming in the air around those Tigers.
I expect Alabama State to bring a really strong crowd. And then I think this is going to be an Alabama State team that remembers the fact that, you know what, we've seen Jackson State be dominant, but we've also beat them. And not only have we beat them before, we beat them in
that stadium.
Exactly. So we know that it can be done. Now we know that it can be done, and we actually have the quarterback that we need to lead our offense. And we know that the defense can come up with plays when it's time to come up. It's just a matter of, can we execute it for 60 minutes on Saturday?
Yeah. One thing that concerns me about Alabama State on kickoff returns, they're not very good.
Yeah. No.
Jackson State is number 2 behind Texas Southern. Punting as well. They have a pretty decent punting, but get this, Alabama State only punted 4 times.
Yeah, because when you have an offense that's been humming, like the Hornets offense have, you hadn't really needed you really hadn't had to punt the ball like that.
Yeah. That's just remarkable, man. Only 4 times this year. When it comes to field goal percentage, Alabama State's number 3 with 78% conversions on field goals. Jackson State only 60%. What's going on with the kicking game there?
That's an issue that Coach Taylor has talked about in terms of the kicks coming out lower, also blocking. And so I think a lot of that, too, is just a matter of making sure that you're owning your spot, your block, your position on the offensive line to ensure that those kicks aren't being blocked. And the thing is, it's so uncharacteristic to see. We call him G Baby, but of course, Gerardo Beza.
Yeah. Right.
It's so uncharacteristic to see him miss field goals. Or not field goals.
And he missed one extra point as well.
Yeah, extra points. And so to see him, struggle like that, that's just not what we expected from him. So I would like to think that, Coach Taylor obviously would have talked to him kind of coming into this week and making sure that, he doesn't lose confidence, especially in a game like this, because I just said that special teams could be a key indicator in winning this game. And it could come down to whether or not you made an extra point each time you scored a touchdown, or if you needed to kick a game-winning field goal, whether it's 20 yards out, 30 yards out, or 45 yards out. You got to be able to make it.
And the punting as well, man. Alabama State does a pretty good job punting. There's a difference of around 7 yards between them and Jackson State. Jackson State is near the bottom. That's another area I was surprised at. Usually have a solid punting game from the Tigers.
Yep, and I think that if you remember – not last year, but the year before last, in TC's first season, if I'm not mistaken, they had issues with special teams, whether it was, punters, kickers getting hurt and things of that nature. And he kind of had nipped that in the bud last season, didn't necessarily have as many issues, but now you're kind of starting to see some I don't want to say major issues, but you're seeing remnants of that looking indicative of what it looked like from 2023. And so, again, if you're Coach Taylor, if you know him, that's definitely something on his mind that he wants to fix. And again, considering that this game could come down to special teams, that's certainly an area. If I'm Coach Taylor, that I want to make sure that I have sold up before Saturday's game.
And one team stat that we talked about earlier, the penalties, and Jackson State has had some untimely penalties as well. They lead the league with 98.8 yards given up on penalties per game. Golly, that's another football field. That's a score for a team. So that's in actuality, you're giving a team 7 points.
Yeah.
If they can convert.
Exactly. If not 7, at least 3
on that defense.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Red zone defense is pretty good for Jackson State. They're number 3 in the league. Alabama State is only 10th in the league, and the red zone offense, Jackson State's number 1, and Alabama State is number 4. Time of possession, Jackson State is second behind Florida A&M. They average 31.2 minutes per game. Alabama State, they score so fast, so they only hold the ball around 28 minutes per game. So,
if you're Jackson State and you maintain those long drives and score touchdowns, you limit the amount of possessions that Alabama State can get.
That's right. True. Well, guys, we just talked about some key statistics in this game. It could be either or going down the wire to this one. I think this game, if it's played smartly, it's with some discipline on the side of Alabama State, and if they're able to convert or force at least 2 turnovers, they have a chance. Yeah, that's just how I see it. Yeah. Jackson State, they have to play smart and just be disciplined. And rush the ball. If they can run the ball and they show that they can control the clock, keep Andrew Body on the sidelines, then they have the upper hand. But if that Alabama State defense, some way, shape, or form, gets rolling, and that could be an issue. The only thing that concerns me about Alabama State, and you saw this in a couple of games, that defensive front, they kind of start allowing the run as the game progresses, and that's what happened with Bethune-Cookman getting 35 points. They started rushing that football, and that could be a problem, especially with a team like Jackson State.
Right. No, absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah. All right, Wilt, what's your prediction, man?
I got Jackson State winning this game. I think they win it anywhere between 7 and 10 points.
7 and 10 points. Oh, yeah. Wow. I got Jackson State 3-point favorite right now. We're going to have our predictive model for HBCU Legends. We didn't know last week. I did a model and came out. We were 4 for 4 in the Swac, 2 for 2 in the MEAC. But, mama, who saw that coming?
Right.
the Georgetown one. That one coming. That's the one. Yeah, we could have easily been 3-1. Norfolk State, they fought but didn't fight hard enough. But I got to say this, guys. We are trying to do something a little bit different that hasn't been really done a lot in our HBCU space. Kind of support it. Please support it, because we could be able to take this to another level and start forcing Las Vegas to actually give us some numbers, spread numbers to our games. They only give numbers to our games unless we're playing like a FCS guy that's at the top or a FBS program. We've got to be able to do our own. And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to develop this app at HBCU Legends, okay? Well, tell everybody how they can find you again on the World Wide Web.
You can follow me on Twitter at Wilton Reports and on Instagram, Wilton Reports _.
All right, and it's Kyle T. Mosley here at KTMOZE on all social media platforms. And you can check me out at HBCU Legends and go to hbclegends.net to be able to follow all of our articles. Well, got to get you to write a guest piece, man. Come on in. Just bring your talent. If you guys don't know, Wilton is a highly talented. We should start calling you professor now instead of, if you didn't know, he's a professor over at Jackson State. So we're going to just call you Prof. All right. That's Mr. Wilton Jackson, the man. And I'm Kyle T. Mosley. Let's have a great weekend. And let's see this Swac East Showdown. Man, it's going to be a good one.
It is.
All right. Take care, guys.